honest to goodness, look me dead in the eye and tell me the conflict between Magneto and Professor Xavier is not the exact same as Dumbledore and Grindelwald. To be fair, the X-Men have been around a lot longer than the Harry Potter IP, and given about equal screen time, Magneto proved to be a much more convincing story than that of Harry Potter. In my opinion. I'm not saying the X-Men are worse than Harry Potter. I actually think Harry Potter kind of missed the mark in a lot of places, especially in the new Fantastic Beast movies, but that's not why we're here.
The echoes of World War II and the German campaign of terror through Europe against the Jewish people echo strongly in this series. And even 90 years past the events of Auschwitz and the concentration camps, we still feel the conflict and plight of the mutants. The X-Men have always been an analogy for the evils of racism, and X-Men 97 uses some of the worst in human history to give us an animated TV show that came out of nowhere. Andrew, let's get into it.
Welcome to Talk About Tatooine. I'm Andrew.
I'm Nathan.
And we are twin brothers here to bring you what's new in nerddom and give colorful commentary on our favorite subjects. Welcome to our I did it too. Welcome to our cantina. Grab a drink and settle in as we set course for realities beyond our own. I did turn you down a couple more ticks because you're coming in real hot. Slay.
Just got me muted. Anyways, welcome to episode 73, everybody. Today's recording date is May 19th, and this episode will be released on Monday, May 27th. Today we will be discussing X-Men 97, some nerddom news, our lightsaber giveaway, and maybe just a little bit more. But let's start off with our starter questions. Let's get right into it.
All right, we're going to talk favorite Marvel superhero, mutant and non-mutant variant.
So I didn't pick a hero on this. Is that all right?
Yes. Favorite Marvel character.
Yeah, so I picked a villain. I
picked a bad guy.
I think what happened to Killmonger in Black Panther was an absolute travesty for good villains of Marvel, because he was such a cool villain. Like, his powers with vibranium, super cool. Like, I mean, he's basically just an evil Black Panther. Yeah. Has an amazingly compelling backstory. The name is cool. The brands everywhere for like each kill. I'm like, how is this guy not getting his own miniseries? This is ridiculous. And even without the powers, he's still a highly trained special operations operator. Like the dude kicks ass, and he is so cool. And Michael B. Jordan did a fantastic job playing that character in Black Panther. Boy, howdy, do I wish we could see more of Michael B. Jordan.
Michael B. Jordan is in the same category for me as Henry Cavill, as just 10 out of 10. Like, should I block his social media accounts from my wife? Should I block them on my own accounts? Dude is very handsome.
He's what we call man candy, as they might say.
He's so handsome. He also does a really good job in Fahrenheit 451, which is one of my favorite books. It's by Ray Bradbury. They did a film adaptation to it, and he kills it. He's so good.
Oh, I didn't know that, actually.
Killmonger is a lot of fun because he's like, I'm a bad guy, and I do really bad things. And we're like, no, that's bad. You shouldn't do that. And he's like, this is why I did it. And you're like, oh, damn. Oh, this tragedy.
You like, this became a lot harder to argue against. I kind of feel it.
I know. You're just like, I'm going to go away now.
Your methods are a little brutal, but your intentions are kind of on the money. So
you're a little out of line, but you're not wrong.
Indeed. Andrew, what about you?
Oh, okay. So in Marvel Snap, the game, it was Kitty Pryde, because I used her in like a ton of decks and she was really strong. And then they nerfed her like 10 times. I was like, all right, I'm done playing this game. My favorite mutant, I think, is Beast, because one, I love Kelsey Grammer, and two, I love his like animal exterior juxtaposed with like his impeccable taste and intelligence. For my nerd. It goes without saying. That's the entire foundation of why we're here.
That is why we're here.
Let me tell you what. Nerd doesn't even scratch the surface, my young friend. Non-mutant hero would be Captain America, because I'm very vanilla in a lot of regards.
Dude, you vanilla as hell. Holy cow.
I have once been quoted as saying vanilla is spicy. I'm kidding. That's a spicy mayo.
Gosh.
This Hellman's really has got some tang to it. Welcome to Tang Town.
I actually made spicy mayo today, and it's so good.
Actual spicy mayo is delicious. Emulsifications are like really good, and we're like, oh, mayo's disgusting, which it is. Don't get me wrong. Like straight mayo grosses me the crap out. It's so weird.
Yeah, totally.
Well, boy, I tell you what, I love seeing that mayo seep out of my sandwich.
Dude, stop being so damn gross. God.
Okay, seriously. Okay. But like, I love the first Avenger, Winter Soldier, and Civil War. They're probably some of my favorite all-time Marvel movies, right up there with Infinity War and Endgame, if I'm being honest. Any hero who kicks the heads of Nazis is a true hero in my book. And I just love a good Nazi killing movie.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So I would have to agree. I think as a Marvel hero, Captain America is pretty awesome. He's really one of the only characters that sticks true to his morals as much as he possibly can. He's a good guy. I mean, he's Steve Rogers, and I'm right there with you. Any movie that is all about just absolutely like curb stomping Nazis, I am 100% in favor of.
The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, or no, The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. Great Nazi killing movie, has Henry Cavill, and honestly, the rest of the cast is phenomenal. It's so good. It's so good.
I haven't seen that one yet, and it gives me the vibes of, what is that movie by Quentin Tarantino? It is a World War II movie.
Is it
Inglourious Bastards? That's what it is.
Bastards.
Such a good movie. That's kind of what it reminds me of, but I haven't watched it yet, so it's very much, that's just me speculating. So
it is so good. Ian Fleming shows up in it.
All right, folks. So we are going to get into it today. We were talking about X-Men 97. My brain was like, all right, it's time to talk about Helldivers. And I'm like, nope.
Don't do it.
I'm on the wrong episode. So we're talking about X-Men 97 here, guys. We are talking about season 1. So if you guys haven't watched any of season 1, this is your spoiler warning. Eject now if you have not watched it. But while you guys are hopefully running back to whatever you're doing. Yeah, what?
No, I'm just waving bye to the people who are leaving.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was like, what is he trying to get my attention for? I'm trying to read the script.
This will be, I'm trying to get your attention. What is up, brother?
What is up, brother?
Special teams? Special mutants.
Special mutants. All right, so obligatory, make sure to like, comment, subscribe if you guys are watching this on YouTube. Follow the podcast on Anchor, Spotify, or Apple if you guys are listening. And if you are listening, I love you so much. Anyways, this is our spoiler warning.
Thank you.
And make sure that you have had a chance to eject. We're going to get right into it. Andrew, please start off and give us a rating 1 out of 10 for the season 1 of X-Men 97.
For sure. 1 being Aragon and 10 being Endgame. I would give season 1 of X-Men 97 a 7.5.
Okay.
It's a little goofy at points. And if you don't understand or are familiar with the lore, it can feel like the show starts speaking another language at some times. Weirdly enough, playing Marvel Snapped exposed me to a lot of locations and characters that I didn't know were mutants. So I didn't have to really, like, I pieced it together pretty quick. Like when Mojo captures Jubilee inside of her game console, I was like, oh yeah, Mojo's a bad guy. Like I've seen enough of his art in the Marvel Snap game to really kind of understand what's going on and not really be lost as far as context. Notably, I did think that X-Men 97 was better than the Bad Batch. I am more of a Star Wars fan than a Marvel fan, but Marvel has had a lot more hits than Star Wars. It's had more whiffs as well, but still, I really enjoyed this show so much that I'm actually going through the older stuff and I'm legit having a blast. Like, it's weird. The animation style is definitely aged quite a bit, but it's not bad.
Yeah.
It's just a little weird. It's like when you go back and watch like old Scooby-Doo cartoons, you're like, people don't say zoinks.
Yeah. Although we still use the Scooby-Doo sounds as much as we can in our streams because people just get it.
The spooky Scooby. Yeah, it's good. It's so good. I can't really do it, but
one of my favorites. I was wondering if you were going to attempt to do that. Love it.
It was an impulse.
'Tis an itch that needs to be scratched. All right, folks. So I gave this an 8. I haven't loved a show this much that's animated since I watched Invincible Season 1. Now, I think that's actually a good point that you brought up, that you said you're more of a Star Wars fan than Marvel fan. I think this is very similar to the score I gave Bad Batch as a series, if not just a little bit more, but I think overall, like, pretty similar. But it took me less to like this as much. And I also felt like there was actual points in this show where I was legit traumatized by what was going on because I just didn't expect it. And it just goes to show that, like, in the comic books, they don't have to pull punches. Like, when stuff happens, like, it happens big, it happens in a pretty graphic way. I mean, today I've literally been watching cartoons all day. So I finished X-Men 97 this morning, rewatched all of Invincible Season 1, because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm on a kick right now. So that's been on in the background while I've been, like, doing chores and stuff. And I'm like, oh my gosh, these are better animations than Star Wars. Because Star Wars is pulling off of an IP that, like, I automatically fall in love with, but didn't find as, what's the word?
Star Wars animation, or I should say Star Wars in general, doesn't take risks.
Right. It wasn't as compelling. That's what I was trying to say. So I found this to be really compelling. I really liked this. And that'll kind of transition me into my favorite moments from each episode.
Let's go.
I loved the shocking parts of this. When they're fighting, I'm like, yeah, people kind of get bounced around a little bit, and you're like, oh, kind of whatever. People are getting blasted across, getting slammed into buildings, and you're just thinking, like, whatever. This is like how people fight in cartoons. Like, nobody actually is in danger of dying. And then Gambit just gets murdered, like, stabbed through the gut.
Brutal.
And then he's like, well, if I'm dead, you're gonna get dead too. And that's just absolutely crazy. Then Wolverine gets his bones degloved. Oh my gosh.
I hate that.
Oh, such a good word for an awful process. Charles Xavier's like, hey, you just committed, like, I know you just knocked out the world's, like, magnetosphere. Everyone's going to die in, like, a minute, but, like, you degloved my friend, and now I have to invade your brain. So those moments truly left me speechless, and I loved them so much. It's just one of those things where I'm like, yeah, dude, they're not afraid to pull their punches. Like, yeah, this is based on, like, an old kids show. It's only slightly less horny, and everyone's having a good time. It's a great season so far.
So I actually want to speak on that a little bit. Not the horniness part, although they toned it down a lot. Yeah, we're not going to talk about that. So I actually had to go back and check, because the original cartoon is a Y7. Dude, everyone just...
Y7?
The original cartoon is Y7. X-Men 97, the new cartoon, it's TV-14. And because, like, absolutely. Because at first I thought it was Y7, and I was like, nuh-uh, did that just happen? I was like, oh my gosh, they're showing Gambit impaled. I was like, this does not track. And no, they actually raised the rating from 1997 to 2024.
Wow.
Which I'm like, good on them.
Only took them almost 30 years, but, you know.
The people who have watched that show on Saturday mornings have also aged about 30 years. Make sure to take your ibuprofen, everyone.
I already did.
I had to stop taking ibuprofen because I told my doctor how much I was taking, and they said, don't do that. They're like, you need to be doing significantly less ibuprofen, more stretching. So now I stretch more.
Excellent.
Oh, gosh. Okay. Can I go into favorite moments for me? Oh my gosh, I wrote so much. So who wants to talk this much? Anyway.
TLDR, cool shit happened.
Okay, so in the live action X-Men movies, we see Wolverine kind of take the center stage more than kind of any other mutant in 97. But that's not the case in the animated show. The main characters, I would probably say, are Jean and Scott, but it's really spread around quite a lot. And in the original, Jubilee is like kind of the main character for a good chunk of the first season, because
Yes, absolutely.
which is, I'd never even heard of Jubilee until I until I started playing Marvel Snap. And then I started the show and I was like, oh, I get this now. And I really didn't understand her animation in Marvel Snap. I was like, what was with the fireworks? I don't get it. So it was traumatized is kind of a really good word. So when Magneto tore the adamantium from Wolverine, I was absolutely flabbergasted. Brutal. Uh, it like knocked me back in my seat, and I like was at a loss for words. I was like writing notes for another episode we were doing, and it came on the screen, and I turned my head and I go, for our audio only listeners, I'm making an exaggerated face of shock and awe. When it was happening, I truly thought someone was going to intercede and save Wolverine at the last moment, but that never happens.
Not even a little bit.
Because that's the thing in a lot of shows, and Star Wars has this problem especially, is they put characters who obviously have plot armor in peril, and you're like, I don't care. I know they're going to be fine. And honest to goodness, I thought, I was like, of course Wolverine's going to be fine. And then he gets all the metal ripped out of his body, and I was like, all right, I was wrong.
Super wrong.
Logan brutally and forcefully has the adamantium ripped from his skeletal frame. And I should clarify, this probably doesn't kill Wolverine due to his immense regenerative capabilities, but he's probably in a significantly weakened state. Plus, now that he's been shot into an era he doesn't understand, we will see Wolverine, I think, really struggle in season 2, and I'm kind of looking forward to it. I think he's going to take this a much more prominent role in season 2, and it's hard to tell if Wolverine will have a similar arc as Aurora, i.e. Storm, and regain his augmented skeleton, or if he will have to like remake himself. It was so hard watching Storm get her powers taken from her. Like, it was so tragic, and her journey through her trauma and fear was like really harrowing. And I don't think I had emotionally recovered from that. And then Logan gets torn apart, and I was just beside myself. Like, honestly, the stakes are really high in this cartoon, and it makes me wonder just a little bit why live action doesn't take a similar stance to anyone's life on the table. Like, that's really what I want to see.
Yeah, I think they do need to. And now, one of the interesting things I want to point out is that not only did Wolverine get the adamantium ripped from his skeleton, he is completely absent almost in other than in spirit in the last episode. He's not there. He is on an essentially he's in part of Asteroid M's medical bay. He's recovering. And so something you had mentioned that I'm going to make a slight change on is you had mentioned he's in a time that he doesn't know. We're assuming because all of the other characters get shot into either the past or the present, or past or the future, that right. Logan gets thrown into one of those as well. However,
because we don't actually see where he goes.
No, he is not visible in either of those. And I actually rewatched the ending to see where he ended up, whether or not he was in the past or the future. He's in neither. So he could be all by himself. There's nothing saying that he couldn't be, but also he could be in one of the others as well. We don't know yet. So Logan is currently MIA. So keep that in mind. Wolverine is MIA. We don't know where he's at. We also are going to assume that wherever he is stuck without adamantium. Well, we don't have to assume that. We know that.
It was interesting to me that when Rogue gets sent back to 3000 BC in Egypt, along with Nightcrawler, and I don't really remember who else, but they immediately start beating the crap out of what are probably the local authorities. And they're like, cops, bad.
They also probably have enough knowledge of history to say, oh, these are the Pharaoh soldiers. And those people being attacked are probably people who are either going to be enslaved or currently slaves.
They're like, oh, yes, the establishment. Let's dismantle it.
Yes. All right, so we are going to hop into our episode theories, or I guess really our season theories of what we think is going to happen next. Andrew, why don't you start us off?
So we left off with the X-Men getting launched throughout time. We talked about that. Jean, Scott, and Logan, or no, not Logan. Sorry, Jean and Scott get yeeted into the future.
Yes, so Jean and Scott are in the future. Rogue, Nightcrawler, Magneto, Professor X, and Beast all get sent into the past.
Gotcha. I had totally gotten that flipped in my nerds.
You nerds.
Oh,
My nerds are backwards.
am I having a stirk?
You are, sir. You definitely are.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am having a strong. Gotta laugh through the pain. Anyway. So, Rogue, Nightcrawler, Beast, Pro X, and Magneto get yeeted back into ancient Egypt, basically right at the feet of a man called En Sabah Nur. And I actually had to Google this because his ugly face somehow didn't click that that's who it was. But that's Apocalypse.
Yeah.
Also, side note, En Sabah Nur really puts the lips in Apocalypse. Fix your face, you look goofy. It looks like he took blue lipstick and just like a 7-year-old just painted it on his face. That's what he looks like.
It's war paint, my dude.
It's goofy. I don't know what to tell you. It's not intimidating. It makes me want to laugh. I've always hated it. I'm like, what is wrong with his mouth? Okay, back on track. The rest of the team goes way into the future and seemingly back into the Days of Future Past conflict. We don't really know if that's actually the case, but it seems like it is. To clarify back on En Sabah Nur, if you think that doesn't sound like English, it's not. In Arabic, that translates to the 7 lights, but can also be translated as the morning light or dawn or the awakened light or the birth of light. Marvel writers say that En Sabah Nur translates to the first one in Arabic, but the phrase actually translates in something more akin to good morning. The reason is that term is actually grammatically incorrect, as it should be. It should be Sabah on Nur, not En Sabah Nur.
Interesting. So it's being used in the context of a name, so that might translate into something different?
Yeah.
Interesting.
However, Apocalypse was the first of the second generation of mutant kind, born in ancient Egypt thousands of years ago. Apocalypse is one of the world's first mutants and was a principal villain for the original X-Factor team and later the X-Men and related spin-off terms. I did pull that straight from the Marvel Wiki. Apocalypse's original mutation gives him the power of self-molecular manipulation, and he is also able to transform into an even more powerful being and to interface with the celestial ship, claiming is as his own. So he's super strong, is what I'm trying to say.
A lot going on here. Clarifying question for you before we move on. In your second note there, you have that he's the first of the second generation of mutant kind. Who's the first generation of mutant kind?
I don't know.
So is that what the wiki says, or?
Yeah, that's pulled straight from the wiki. So apparently there's like one generation of mutants before him, kind of like the alpha mutants.
Interesting.
And then Apocalypse comes along and just happens to be like one of the strongest mutants ever, which is probably why he got his own movie, which was a very forgettable movie, if you ask me. I didn't really like it. I fell asleep every single time I tried to watch it.
Can you remind, definitely not me, but maybe the listeners, of which X-Men movie that was? Because
X-Men Apocalypse.
Oh, it's just called Apocalypse?
Yeah, he's the title character. That it's on Disney Plus.
I was like, oh, maybe this is like Days of Future Past, but I was like, I don't remember him being in Days of Future Past. That's weird.
Nope, Apocalypse.
So I would say overall, I'm interested to see what they are going to be doing moving with the X-Men, basically 6,000 years apart from each other. Now, listeners of the podcast know that I'm not a huge fan of time travel. So the fact that this was the ending
Understatement.
twist did kind of bum me out a little bit. I was like, come on. Also, I
knew it would.
Why did they get sent back in time? What? Magneto's a magnetic guy. He doesn't have time travel abilities. It makes no sense.
I have no idea. So
somebody's probably going to be like, well, the magnetic force between the gravity core exploding around asteroid M is then going to create a black hole or something that bends time, and then they went bloop into a new time. And I'm just like, I don't know. I'm like, time travel is stupid and people need to stop doing it.
Dude, there's so much time travel in the X-Men. It's just everywhere.
I know. They are absolutely everywhere. Anyways,
Honestly, I can't believe you gave X-Men Season 1 as high of a rating as you did, considering how much time travel is in it.
It was that compelling. If it didn't have the time travel, bam, extra 2 points right there, 10 out of 10. Like, that's how much I liked it. I mean, that's how good it was, right?
Oh, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
Do you ever get the effect where if you hear your name in TV, you really don't like it?
If I hear anyone else with my name, it bugs me.
Yeah, so Cable, aka Nathan, is it Nathan Scott or Nathan Gray? What's his last name? Who did he take?
Nathan Charles Summers is his full name.
Nathan Charles Summers. So every time they're like, oh, it's our Nathan, I'm like, shut up, that's me.
You're like, oh.
So anyways, Cable seems to be in the future, so that's interesting because it's just Nathan. He hasn't assumed the title of Cable here, so that was my faux pas. So that's interesting. We're going to see that he's distinctly different than Cable. He didn't have any of those like technovirus lines on him, so that's also interesting. And
wait, what?
Nathan gets sent forward into the future in the first place because he has a technovirus. So, but he's still a child when we see him. So is this the same Nathan that got sent in the future and they're seeing him like roughly when he's 13 to 16 years old? Like, what's going on here?
Oh, at the very, very end.
Yes.
I don't know. I think so.
Really, I just want to know where Logan is. That's my biggest thing. Let me kick the dog out of the office really quick because he's starting to become a big ass. So before we hop into our lore section, Andrew, I want to ask you a quick trivia question. So make sure you can't see my notes. Okay. Did you read my notes on the lore section yet?
Nope.
Cool. I'm going to give you a trivia question. Who is Magneto's children?
Oh, I did read this part.
Come on.
Once you asked it, I was like, oh yeah, I remember.
He's a liar, folks. Well, give us the answer.
I'm not a liar. I'm stupid. It's different.
It's different. Give us the answer.
You take that slander back. I have a smooth brain.
Oh my goodness. Stop calling yourself an idiot. What's the answer then?
It's no ridges or lumps, no valleys or bumps.
Stop it. Say the answer.
Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver.
There you go. Jeez. It's like trying to milk a nut. All right. So I'm going to talk about
that sentence. Don't ever say that again.
I will say it more often. Thank you. All right. So my lore is going to be based around Magneto today. I'm going to ignore Andrew. It feels like it's touching my eyeball. I really don't like that. Okay. So I'm talking about Magneto. What an iconic villain. We learned a lot about Magneto in this show. Specifically, we know he's an Omega level mutant. He's kind of like top dog, essentially. Let's get more specific. In the final season of X-Men 90, or the final few episodes of X-Men 97 in that first season, the president is talking to King T'Challa, aka Black Panther, and he has a file open on Magneto. Andrew, did you notice that file?
No, I did not.
Okay, cool, because I paused and took notes. So this file has a ton of information on Magneto, such as his power ratings, affiliations, metrics, and even his children. So first of all, he's like really old. He's 6'2", I think it said in there. It was either 6'2" or 6'5".
Oh, so he's short.
Shut up. I will kill you.
Suck it. I'm 6'3".
He's slightly taller than average, but he's also like 190 pounds, which means he's like completely like chiseled, which I'm like, as a 70-year-old,
which we see.
I'm like, okay, that tracks. So as Andrew ruined in the little bit of trivia, this also mentions that Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch are his descendants. It actually says that on his sheet, which I think is really, really cool. And that's also why we see both of them on the boat when he's thinking about Rogue. So when he's in the dreamscape of the floating, like in the drowning, excuse me, and you see the boat and like Rogue's on the front, there's one character I didn't recognize. I don't know who that is. I'm sure there's people in the chat who are like, I knew exactly who that was. Good for you. Tell us in the comments. But you can see Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch in the background right away. Also, this has a stats sheet of Magneto. Now, these are all like histogram bars, so they don't actually have values on them. So I kind of gave a quick conversion just by eyeballing it. But basically, his stats include strength, intelligence, speed, fight, which I didn't know what that meant, stamina, agility, and overall energy level. and threat to, or sorry, and then his last stat is global danger. So they literally rate him. They're like, what's your danger level? So his strength is about, these are all estimates from me just eyeballing. So strength is a 7.5 out of 10, intelligence 9.5. It's almost all the way to the top. He's slow, so he has a speed of 5. Fight, again, I don't know what this means. Like, what does the fight mean? Who knows? 7.5 stamina, 7.5 agility, 7.5. So he's pretty scrappy for an old guy. Energy level 8.5, and then global danger, they give him a 10. They literally max out his global danger bar because they're like, he'll kill everyone if given the chance and the opportunity.
And then he proceeds to try.
Indeed. Indeed. After like trying to be a good guy for like the first time in his life, he's like, fine, my best friend slash arch enemy is presumed dead, so I guess I'll take up the mantle and try to do something good. Totally doesn't work. And he's like, fine, I'll just kill everybody instead, just like I wanted to in the first place. But yeah, Magneto's pretty cool.
Dude, yeah, Magneto's, he's so flipping cool. Also, his costume in X-Men 97 is kind of awesome. Like the M on his chest is very similar to the M we see over Bishop's eye, which is actually a tattoo that says he's a mutant. It's M for mutant, and it's on his face, so he can't hide it.
Oh, wild.
Very similar to the tattoos we see on prisoners from concentration camps, of which Magneto was a part of, which is so tragic. You kind of see where he's coming from. You're like, ugh, y'all were pretty mean to him and continue to be mean to him.
Yeah, he has it pretty rough.
So I actually wanted to talk a little bit about some background sort of background characters. Not they play very important parts, but because I was introduced to all three of these characters via Marvel Snap, I associated them together because they all kind of looked the same, and I really wasn't 100% sure what their power levels were. And come to find out, they're actually very, very different. So I'm talking about Forge, Cable, and Bishop. They all have extremely similar uniforms, probably because they're all X-Men. And what I thought were pretty similar powers, if I'm being honest. So I went to Reddit and picked up some leads, and then I verified those hunches on the X-Men wiki and found out they actually serve very different roles. These guys saw a lot of page time in the Days of Future Past comic run, which originally was the Uncanny X-Men number 141 and 142, printed in 1981. While the original comic run did not include the Sentinel No, it did. It did. The original comic run did include the Sentinel conflict, but it didn't include Nimrod. This story has come up over and over again in the X-Men's storied history and has a very strong influence from films such as Terminator 1 and Terminator 2. In essence, they love time travel.
What a shame.
Basically, what I was trying to say is like Forge, Cable, and Bishop, their characters have a lot of influence from the Terminator movies because they were so popular. I mean, they still are. They're awesome. Like I said, Forge's first appearance was in 1984. He's a genius, a technopath, and a shaman, so he's a man of many worlds. Cable, also known as Nathan Summers, his first appearance was actually in 1990. He inherits telepathy from his mother, and from the technovirus that he was given as a child, he's learned to like control it in some ways. If you guys know more about this in the comics, please let me know. I was already so far down the rabbit hole just trying to get like just to scrape the surface of a lot of these heroes that I was like, okay, I want to dig into this, but I do not physically have the time. So if you know in the comments more about how Cable controls the technovirus, let us know. And we'll feature it on one of our next episodes. Appreciate you.
Hell yeah, yes.
Hell yeah. And then there's Bishop, he's the one who has the M on his eye. He, in the original X-Men cartoon, he actually is hunting mutants and taking them in, which is a little confusing because he still has the M on his eye. And the Sentinels are like, yeah, you're a tracker and you're a mutant hunter. And he's like, I'm also a mutant. Don't tell anybody. Even though it's literally written on his face. And the and the stupid Sentinels are like, I wonder what that M is for. It's like, oh my gosh, you're so dumb. Anyway, his first appearance was in 1991. He has the ability to absorb energy. He's super hard to kill. And at one time, he hunted mutants for money, and the M over his eye is a tattoo for mutants. I had written all these notes and then realized I had already said all of them in the previous episode, or previously in this episode.
That's all right. Andrew, do you have any least favorite parts from this?
Specifically, no. Generally, yes. Being a cartoon, it has the tendency to maybe be a little goofy, and it does definitely come off as a little goofy sometimes, especially if you don't know what's going on, who the characters are, because like sometimes they'll just like mention other characters and they won't really say anything. Like oh gosh, like I think in X-Men 97 they like mentioned Nimrod, but he didn't actually show up.
I know, I was waiting for Nimrod to show up.
Because Nimrod is like a more perfect version of a Sentinel. He's a Terminator. Nimrod is a Terminator who can like self reassemble himself after you like blow him into pieces. He just stitches himself back up. And really the only way to get rid of him is you have to destroy his like time device located in his head so that he doesn't really die. He just gets ripped back to his original time.
Wild. Well, everyone already knows my least favorite part, which is the time travel. Just quit it already.
Oh, it's a movie about time travel? Start taking off points.
Pretty much.
Hey, you stuck to your guns and you took off points, and I'm proud of you.
All right, folks. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns about the first season of X-Men 97,
so
I think overall we had a very positive reception of this show. Super excited. Again, I mean, other than the time travel, I thought all of the like extra Easter eggs and everything, like they had so many heroes show up throughout. I think the heroes I noticed, other than the ones that were like already in the story, is a lot of like the Marvel superheroes. So we saw Daredevil, Dagger, Cloak,
Captain America,
Iron Man. The Hulk was mentioned several times. Captain America. The Hulk was actually mentioned several times because Morph transformed into Hulk, which I thought was super cool. We actually get the most Easter eggs probably from Morph.
I'm just gonna
from different heroes essentially, which I actually thought they killed Morph. Like when Genosha got attacked, I thought he was dead.
Yeah, so Morph gets his ass kicked way too much for being able to transform into whoever he wants.
He's got to be an Omega level mutant. How is he not? Because he can assume the powers of other mutants. It doesn't make any sense.
He very much feels like the Skrulls from Secret Invasion, the terrible TV show, but they actually executed pretty well instead of, you know, the whole what's her face flexing the dork's arm. I don't remember. Why can I not remember his name? Game of Thrones lady flexes her arm, changes it into the Guardian with all the tattoos, played by the bald man.
Who are you talking about?
Why can't I remember his name? Drax. She morphs into Drax the Destroyer's arm and is like, look how strong.
Wait, where does Game of Thrones come into this?
It's played by, because it's Emilia Clarke. That's her character. I don't remember her actual name. But Emilia Clarke transforms her arm. That's her name, right? You're looking at me like I'm freaking crazy. I'm not crazy. Hold on.
Dude, I don't know, man. Dude, I think you're crazy.
Secret Invasion cast. It's Emilia Clarke. She plays Gaia. I know it was a bad TV series, but I'm not crazy.
Oh, right. Okay, so in my brain, because she's not blonde, like her being like Daenerys in Game of Thrones did not come up in my brain. I was like, who are you talking about? Like, I was like, she's a brunette. She has brown hair. I'm like, who the hell are you talking about? And then I remember Emilia Clarke plays Daenerys Targaryen with a wig on. And I'm like, oh, wait, duh. Yeah, because nobody has that perfectly bleached blonde hair. And yeah, ignore my confusion because you were correct in everything you said.
Okay, I just sent you a picture of what I was referencing and how that's a dumb form of shapeshifting, but Morph does it really, really well.
Gaia, Drax. Oh, yeah, I see.
And part of that is that animation can lend itself to better, more fantastic and epic battles because they're not limited by the actual reality of filming.
Indeed, yeah.
That's why, perfect example of this, is the Star Wars The Old Republic trailers. They're completely animated, and they're the best Star Wars combat we've ever seen, ever. But because it's like, that really high def 3D animation and not actual actors jumping around, it's amazing. And it's like, what? Frankly, it's the Star Wars we deserved. That's not why we're here. I'm trying so hard not to get us derailed and finish the episode, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
Like, animation has, there's no ceiling to animation for live action. Like, your barrier to like really really epic film is the actual skills of and limitations of your graphic artists, and it takes armies of people to do the special effects for Marvel movies, literal armies of people. And the animators are like, why don't you just draw him better?
Yeah, it does. Anyways, all right, guys. We just want to give a quick shout out to our patrons, Mike, Isaac, David, and our biggest supporter on Twitch, The Calm Brew. You guys are the reason we do this, and thank you guys so much for being such a delight to have in our Discord server. Now, keep in mind here, guys, our Patreon page continues to grow with the amount of benefits that we are adding to it. So for $5 a month, you can, first of all, support us over here at Talk About Tatooine so you get better content. That is probably your main benefit. We also do awesome things like giveaways. So currently, we are doing a lightsaber giveaway. If you enter, or if you support us on Patreon, that does give you a raffle ticket right into our jar. We host game servers, and we also digital content on there as well. And our patrons, honestly, have the most say in what we do in future content. That is probably one of the biggest things that I think that people don't really think about.
Like the Baja Blast.
The Baja Blasky. I made an absolute god-awful cocktail because one of our patrons were like, you should try this. And I didn't even ask him if it was good. I just said bet, and I did it, and it was awful. You can check that out on YouTube, by the way. I did make an updated Baja Blast, or a Baja Blaster, as I called it on this one, because I did rum instead of whiskey. And the first attempt, too much lime juice. Second attempt, the right amount of lime juice, way better. Anyways, we do stuff like that. So make sure you guys support us on Patreon. It's actually super helpful, and you get a ton out of it. So it is quite fun. Now, we're going to talk about our lightsaber giveaway really quick before we hit the end of the episode here, guys. So our lightsaber giveaway is going on. You guys have several months still to get in. We are going to be drawing in August. So if you support us on Patreon, you get a raffle ticket. If you subscribe to our Twitch channel, you get a raffle ticket. And that is Prime sub or regular, or if you give a minimum of 500 bits, because that is essentially equal to a subscription.
However, with that, you do have to fill out our Google form. We do, like, there's no other way of capturing the information required to ship you a lightsaber unless you fill out the Google form. From there, we keep track of everything else. We associate, like, we ask you, like, hey, what's your Twitch ID? And then we track how much you're giving. You don't have to fill out the form every time you reach a certain milestone or you do a certain thing. You just need to give us a bare minimum amount of information. We don't sell it. We don't do anything weird with it. We delete it when we're done. We just need it to track people's information and track raffle tickets.
Yes, so that way we have the correct amount. Now, if you're seeing this, I currently have a jar in front of me. One of the best ways you can enter into the raffle, the jar.
He has been chosen.
One of the best ways you can enter into the raffle is to purchase items from our Etsy shop. Now, we are putting more and more items on there every single month, and we currently have a preview for a Don't Tread on Me Dune sticker. So we're very, very excited about that. And each purchase on Etsy gets you not one, but 2 raffle tickets. So, for example, one of our patrons actually bought some items off our Etsy list. So I take these raffle tickets right here, folks, and I add them to the jar. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 additional raffle tickets for this one individual because they bought 2 of our items. So all of those are right in here. The pile gets a little bit larger every day. So make sure you guys enter to win. There is still a small number in there, so your odds are still really, really good.
Your odds are amazing. And honest to goodness, so we're doing Ultra Sabers, which is a combat lightsaber company. What we do is we do their grab bag sabers. This is a minimum of $100 value, by the way.
And overall, guys, there's no way of entry that isn't
Yep.
automatically rewarding you with something else in the meantime. Whether or not that's supporting us on Twitch, our Patreon, or you're getting something from the Etsy shop, all of that
Yes.
goes towards us so that we can give better content out to you guys. So with that, thank you guys so much for watching. Every single one of you is amazing. Make sure you guys leave your theories about X-Men in the comments. Share pictures of any of your models if you're a Warhammer fan on Twitter or Instagram. And shoot us an email at talkabouttatooine@gmail.com if you have a question you want featured on air. Or if you have access to the Discord server, which I forgot to mention is also a Patreon lifetime benefit, even if you only subscribe for 1 month, you guys can throw stuff in there as well. That's actually where we get the most amount of questions and comments that we feature on air is from our Discord channel. So with all that being said here, guys, please make sure you guys like the video, share it with a friend. The algorithmic overlords are really hard to appease, so please help us out on that. And until next time, what's something the X-Men say? To me, my X-Men. Yeah, something like that. May the force be with you, everyone. See ya.